Good morning, and thank you for joining us for this video service of the First Unitarian Church of Alton on this 12th day of April 2020. I am John Herndon, and our speaker today is our minister, Amy Brooks. We send Easter greetings to those of you who celebrate this day. For all of you watching, know that we hold in love any tensions that may have begun or increased during this global pandemic. We acknowledge that we create this worship service on Illiniwek land colonized by white Europeans through the labor of enslaved Africans. We invite you to remember the heritage of the land that holds you in your location today. We welcome everyone to this online home of comfort, spirit, justice, and hope. We are Unitarian Universalists. We begin our worship today with a prelude by our accompanist, Joy Heft.
If you have a chalice or a candle at home, I invite you to join me as I light mine. We hallow this time together by kindling the lamp of our heritage. Our opening words are titled Easter Again and were written by Linda Susan Ulrich. We live inside paradox. Humans generally don't like to admit it. We much prefer tidy, stable, comprehensible, logical ways of getting through the day. But paradox is woven into the fabric of this particular universe we inhabit. Light is both a particle and a wave. Imaginary numbers describe the math of physical phenomena. Love and grief are inextricably linked, as are rage and sorrow, suffering and compassion, life and death. Time itself is both linear and cyclical. Each person's life traces a single arc, yet patterns emerge and re-emerge. Fear always seems to return. Goodness knows terror finds its way back into the news. We always seem in need of help to roll back big stones that block our way. Yet we also come back to the Alleluia. even if his absence has gone on for far longer than the 40 days of Lent. We raise each other's spirits when our sacred places seem empty. We anoint each other. We engage in a demanding faith that asks us to love the next world into being today. We are joyful, though we have considered all the facts. We practice resurrection. It is Easter again, my friends, and you are surrounded by a multitude who wish you well.
Our prayer was written by Julia Hamilton and is titled, Who Are We to Bet Against Glory? Let us be in an attitude of prayer. Spirit of hope, settle into our bones on this Easter morning. Remind us once again that the dawn light is never a gamble. If there ever was a sure bet, it is the sunrise. Even stones crumble, even grief changes and shifts, and death is a mystery that is certain, but not solid. But hope is like the sunrise, eternal and bone-bred within us. We are creatures built by sunrise, and cannot carve this hope out of our bones if we tried. And yet people have tried to entomb the light, tried to seal off the morning. Emperors and kings, priests and patriarchs have brought down death, certain but not solid, on any who point to the new dawn. In these fearful moments, we can be forgiven if we stumble and doubt and deny. But still the sun rises and calls her children into bloom. Always, she says, always I will return. So don't despair, all is not lost. The small ways of the petty tyrants never win. So place your money on the sunrise. Who are we to bet against glory? Our reading this morning is the recipe Bread, as transcribed by Valerie Brooks and then passed on to her daughter, Amy Brooks. 7 cups plain flour. 1 heaped tablespoon dry yeast. 1 cup powdered milk. 1 cup gluten flour. 2 tablespoon brown sugar. 1 tablespoon salt. Mix together in a big bowl. Add most of 1 jug hot tap water with 1 tablespoon butter stirred into the dry ingredients. Mix well. Add water or flour to make it firm like pastry. Use 1 cup flour, plain white, to knead in and prevent sticking. Add as necessary. Knead about 5 minutes. Put oven on 150 degrees Celsius for 10 minutes, then turn off. Put dough back in bowl with oiled plastic on top, oiled side down. Leave to rise for half to 3/4 of an hour. When about doubled in size, take out and knead again. Grease bread tins with margarine, shape loaves and put in tins. Leave to rise again in oven as before with oiled plastic till above the top of the tins. Put in oven 100 degrees Celsius, 180 degrees Celsius. Cook 40 minutes or until brown and sounds hollow when banged under the tin. Remember, it's been in a hot place.
Morning, everyone. I don't know if you've noticed, but there's a pandemic going on. Makes shopping a bit problematic. Toilet paper, you know about that. I discovered last time I ventured out to the store that the thing that we're running short on now is any kind of baking supplies. I have my yeast that I've had in the fridge for about a year now, and flour, can't find it, which is annoying because it seems like a lot of people are suddenly making bread who were not normally making bread. But I need to tell you that bread's been a part of my life for so long. My earliest childhood memories were of my mother making bread, and the smell of the house when she was baking bread, the kind of smell that makes you want to chew your own leg off from hunger, but unfortunately there's still 4 more hours to go before you can eat the bread, is both the best and the worst thing at the same time. So as a young adult, when I left home, I decided to carry on that legacy of my mother's, and I would be a baker of my own bread. And I turned to the recipe that she left me, and that's when I discovered that it was filled with really helpful advice, like add most of 1 jug hot tap water. Okay, thanks, Mum. Which jug? Basically, in her kitchen, she had her bread jug, and she had her utensils and things for making bread, and she didn't really so much measure as it's about to there. And in the absence of the jug specific that she was talking about, I really had no way of knowing how much of this water I'm putting in this container. And then I remembered her descriptions versus her actions didn't necessarily make up. So I don't know how helpful this recipe particularly was to me. And so I was forced to do what so many of us have been forced to do, and that is to turn to the internet for recipes. And I discovered that as wonderful and important as the art of homemaking with your hands, the bread is, do you know what's a lot more convenient? An electric bread maker. So I confess that I am a baker of bread who uses internet recipes and electric bread maker, which is all well and good. I've had some kind of success with that. You'll be, relieved to know. And the thing is, on the topic of confessions, that my wife asked me to make some bread for her last week so she could use it for a communion service that she was doing for her church online. And I'm like, I got this. I am the queen of bread. I've got my internet recipes. I've got my bread maker. I'm good to go. And I put all of the ingredients in the little tub in the correct order, and I hit go. And well, the results were not what you would hope. I sent Alex a picture to show you of the bread that failed to rise, and I hope that he will show it to you now in the middle of this video. So you can see from that image that I didn't just do this one time. I also failed to make beautiful, well-risen, fresh homemade bread twice, and was only successful on the 3rd attempt. Let me tell you how that weekend went, because it was a hot ride. Listen, the only reason I got to the successful 3rd attempt was that I gave up late at night on Saturday night with the idea of making loaf after loaf. And I went, I'm going to do one more attempt. I'm going to put the stuff in the machine, and I'm going to hit the button with the timer to delay it so that it's ready in the morning, and that's the best I can do. If it won't work after that, I don't know what to tell you. And in the morning, there was the perfectly well-risen loaf of bread. Huzzah. And I think I worked out what the problem was. You see, as I said before, I keep my yeast in the fridge because my mother kept her yeast in the fridge. I don't even know if yeast is meant to be kept in the fridge, but my mother kept her yeast in the fridge, so I keep my yeast in the fridge, and that's where the yeast lives. No arguments. And I forget that actually she didn't use a bread machine. She made it all by hand. And any other time I've made bread, I've never set it going and wanted bread 3 hours later. I always set it going before I go to bed or before I go to work in the morning. And so I think what it is that the yeast from the fridge didn't come to room temperature. So now I have a little jar with some yeast that I take out for the bread I want to make that day so that it's not starting off from cold. And, when you're not using a machine, if the bread didn't rise enough, you can just sort of look at it, shrug, walk away, go back to reading your book or working on whatever you were working on and come back whenever it's ready to go in the oven. But the machine, the bread maker, doesn't know that. It doesn't know any of that stuff. It just has a timer. It knows to mix for so long, to rise for so long, and at the end of that, to bake. And it does not care where you keep your yeast, friends. Nowhere in the manual does it say, this is a machine that cares where you keep your yeast. It does not. And so that's why you saw those first attempts with the cold yeast that didn't rise, the bread that failed to rise. And what that brought me to this Easter Sunday is a feeling I think many of us share in this present global moment, particularly for those of us who live in the Northern Hemisphere, where spring is finally here after a long and strange winter. Here in the Midwest, we'd have, first spring, second spring, false spring, but we kept coming back to winter. There'd be snow and then mud and then a little warm and then winter again. And we were ready. We were ready to rise from our homes and to go out and to mingle together, to have picnics, to go for walks, and to be among the presence of each other again. And because of this global pandemic, we haven't risen to that, to what we expected. We had expectations and they didn't come through. And I think some of this feeling, this yes, there is the anxiety of the reality of this virus, which is dangerous and is taking lives, and it's important that we stay home and keep ourselves and our communities safe. But there's this feeling with it as well, that something we expected failed to come through at the level that we hoped for. We feel like this spring has fallen flat. And I think it's okay to feel that way and to acknowledge that we feel that way. And also, as I think about it, as I think about this bread and how I just needed one to be pretty for the video, okay? Because the people are going to be watching the video, and I needed to show that I could make bread because my mother made bread, and I got to show how great I am, and the bread has to be pretty, right? Here's the thing. Those other 2 loaves of bread, they were just fine. They weren't as pretty. Maybe we had to cut the top off, but you could eat the rest just fine. And I know that, like myself, there are some of you out there who are struggling, really struggling, with the sense of how different life has become and needing to do things to the level that you could reach before. And I know that some of you, like at the end of the day, maybe become a little critical of yourself, like you are the bread that failed to rise. And friends, I want to share with you a little of what I shared with my board when we last met online. And that is, my theory is this. When we talk about productivity and we want to get things done, and the goal is to be at 100%. Well, my theory is that in times like these of global crisis, every day, the baseline, the background noise, the humming below us that goes on all the time, even if we do absolutely nothing at all, that baseline, we are already running at 100%. We are anxious. Our bodies are tense. We are getting ready for the next big thing. We're at 100% already. So even if all you do in the day that you criticize yourself for, that you might say, well, I only operated at 50% today. Remind yourself that when you use pandemic math, that 50% that you got done today, on top of the 100% that your body is running at all the time, you did 150% that day, friends. And congratulations on all that you managed to get done. Because these are not normal times. And maybe the spirit within you is like my yeast in the fridge, and it didn't get to room temperature in time to get up and do the things that you thought you needed to get done. But maybe everything doesn't have to be perfect and pretty like the perfect loaf of bread, and maybe it's just fine. Maybe you are just fine, and you're doing so well. So when you think about the bread that failed to rise, I want to remind you that there's nothing wrong with you, that there's nothing wrong with how well you are doing, that you are doing just fine. You are serving your purpose. You are staying home. You are going to work if you're an essential services worker. And you, like all of us, are just doing just the best that you can in this present moment. We will, as a community, rise together when this time has passed. We will see each other again. And we won't care about our quarantine haircuts, about the hair job that grew out and you can see the roots. We won't care how many days we didn't get all of the dishes done, or how many days we got only half of the kids' schoolwork done. We're going to care that we're in each other's presence again. And friends, I want you to remember, I really want you to have trust in the knowledge that every hard thing you have ever faced before this day, you have made it through to this moment. Amen.
We offer the gentle reminder to this community of faith is only supported by your giving. We need each other. And in times of trial, we need each other even more. You can mail your gift to First Unitarian Church, Post Office Box 494, Alton, Illinois 62002. Or you can give electronically by searching for First Unitarian Church of Alton on the GiveFly app. Give what you will, for you are a generous people. If you know it, please join with me in our offering prayer. May this offering equip us to inspire love and seek justice.
When we gathered together in person back in the ordinary times, this is where we would pause and share our thoughts about the message of the day or the theme of the month. But these are extraordinary times. So I invite you to take a pause for reflection right where you are now. Thinking about the service today, what was helpful? What was hard? What sparked inspiration? And thinking about the theme of April, renewal, what source do you draw from when you need renewal? You might like to make a few notes or create something artistic or just stay with your thoughts. Feel free to pause the video if you like, or you might choose to continue to reflect through the next piece of music. I hope that time of reflection was fruitful for you. Perhaps you will share the fruits of your labor with someone significant to you. Also, I invite you to post your thoughts in the comments of this video. If you haven't done so already, go ahead and subscribe to our YouTube channel while you're here. Here are our announcements for this week. Please contact the church office if you are interested in online religious education for children and youth. Likewise, contact us if you have an event or announcement that you would like to share via our weekly Church This Week email. If you're interested in receiving our weekly email, please send your contact details to church@firstuualton.org. And please be sure to join us online next Sunday for our Teddy Bears picnic. It will be a time for all ages that is structured with children in mind. Bring a snack and a teddy bear and join us as we explore the wonder of all things playful. Naturally, all stuffed animals, toys, and pets are welcome too. And now, if you have a lit chalice or candle near you, I invite you to join me in extinguishing the chalice. The light of truth and meaning cannot be put out. We are keepers of this flame until we meet again. Receive these closing words by Joel Miller. We all know loss and pain. Let none of it divide us. In the rising sun today, let us do together what we cannot do alone. Roll away the stones that close our hearts. Amen.